Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host with the most, Tofu Bandit, back with episode 3 of our deck theory video series. Today we're going to be covering just turn sequences, deck combos, things that you can do, to navigate certain bad matchups, when to attack, when to promote, just some basic gameplay mechanics when you do play this deck or play against it. So this is, we just brought up a TTS game here, and then we just drew our starting hand. We did our security checks. We got our eggs here. So this is a starting hand. I'd say a pretty average starting hand. You might have one less rookie, but by running the 14 that I showed in the previous video, odds are you're going to see a rookie. So again, your basic turn, you're going to want to promote. This is assuming you're going first, because they're going to want to cut your draw as much as possible as your opponent, and maximize the amount of memory that you give them. So you want to digivolve into your digivolvable rookies, which is 10 out of the 14. You'll draw for digivolve, and then with the setup you have here, you'll just yeet out this guy, pass your opponent your 3 memory, because you want to start getting your search on as fast as possible. So you'll reveal the top 4. And as I discussed in the video previously, you will always bottom deck this, which is why you you want to run the other builds. So in this particular scenario, you already have an Alteris mode, but you lack these guys. So you can't take this one, and you don't want the Alteris mode because you already have it. So you just take the Greymon and the Blackwargreymon to facilitate your plays for next turn. You pass. Now, on average, the average player, if they're going second, they're going to hatch their egg and digivolve into raising, and either go digivolve for 2 and then play something for 3 to put you at 2, or they're going to try to lock you at 1, digivolve a rookie here, and play their memory tamer. So assuming that you start out with the least amount of memory and you have to supply your opponent with a tamer or a 3 memory, so we'll just decide from that, because that'd probably be the worst case scenarios if you had to start with 1. So what you do, you draw your card here, and you see, oh, hey, I've got, this guy. So what I would probably do if I was in that situation is free swing this guy, because you don't really care whether or not your card on board dies at this point, but having that early game pressure and checking a potentially problematic option early or a big body early can definitely really help you. So worst case, you check another tamer, but if they've already played one, you're not super worried about it. And so unless they've played a TK Kari where they're going to get more memory, free swing always. Now you run into the decision of, do you search with the Greymon, or do you digivolve with the Greymon, or do you search with the Agumon? I would recommend, if your opponent has a tamer, just go ahead and pass them the 3 to play an additional Agumon to keep that pressure going, because now they have a body they have to answer again, and it allows you to search for more. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, sending your tamers to the bottom, but you are able to take this guy. So again, setting up yourself for some solid plays here, because you already have a level 4 and 2 level 5s, as well as your level 6 and your X antibody. So you're doing pretty well here. Your opponent, if you're playing Grandis and they have to start with 3 and they digivolved, into a rookie, they're potentially going to go all the way to their ultimate off of 3 memory, and then probably play like a 2 or 3 cost rookie. So let's say they put you at 2, you're staring down a potential Grandis play on the following turn. So you draw. You are pretty worried about that. So what you'll probably do is, again, swing this, because then that puts them at 3 security, which puts them at a threshold where they actually have to be worried. Digivolve into this guy for 2 in the back. Draw for digivolve. So you are at 0, let's say. And then you'd be like, all right, cool, we're just going to pass you to 3. You start with 3, and then you're here. If they're playing and then you draw for Digivolution. If they're playing Grandis, cool, they go into Grandis for 3. They Digiburst, they gain a memory, then spend that memory to go into Grandis. They Digivolve into Grand for 3, and then do the thing. So they could potentially be sitting at 1 memory if they have cost reduction. So let's say they're here. They're swinging for all your security, basically. So they check 1, they check 2. Oh, cool boy, sweet. We're going to reveal 1, 2, 3. In this case, you would probably take your rookie and then just bot deck these guys, Because again, if you're in a situation where you already have your level 5, you want to kind of be focused on rebuilding your stack, and you already have these two, and another rookie to digivolve on top of would be extremely helpful. Then they check again, and they check again, and let's say they unsuspend and they check your last one. Cool, they cleared your stack. Now, they have to have a memory boost to game you. If they don't, then they'll probably just play a Digimon to put you at like 2 to 3 memory, right? So let's say they put you at 2. Oh, we're sad, blah, blah. These go to the bottom. We draw. All right. Push out. They have a suspended Grandis that is only, I believe, 12k on their turn. So, Tuck X Antibody. Now you have your ideal stack here. You're going to Digivolve into this guy for the cost of 1. But you're going to suspend here. So the cost is null, so you stay at 2, and then you draw 2. 1 off of the Digivolve and 1 off of this guy. Now, what you can do is just swing at Grandis, activate X Antibody, pass your opponent 3, sure, they are, but now you have this guy. Swinging over the Grandis, you draw for the Digivolution, your opponent's at 3, but Grandis is dead. Grandis is dead. You have 1 form of protection with the Alteris mode, allowing you to trash your 2 Greymons if you wish, so they can't bounce you. You draw off of the Koromon inheritable. Their big dude is dead. They restand. That's dead, and now you can block 2 bodies because you have actual blocker and then you have attack redirection. So they can't hybrid you for game. They're sitting at 3, and even if they have an additional raising phase, so like if they go Blossom for 0 and have a second Mimi and go into additional, you can still redirect, and you've trashed the top card of their security. So they'd be at 2 security at this point because of your early game checks. And now you have a pseudo blocker that can also attack. So you're feeling pretty. That'll delete a Digimon every time you restand. So now you just draw. You hatch your egg. Digivolve into another Agumon and raising. This guy's restood. And at that point, you just play. If they put you, it doesn't matter what they put you to, because even if they put you at 2, cool. I'm gonna play this for 5. You go to 3. Delete whatever they have on the board. You get to swing with this guy, check an additional security, draw an additional card. Restand, they have no security. They have to put out 2 bodies, and they only have 1 in raising. So and there's no way that they're going to be able to Digivolve, get an additional raising phase, or put out 3 bodies to be able to actually clear your last bit of security, so you're guaranteed to win. So just being able to have your patience, even when you're getting pressured and have 0 security, or you think you're about to get swung over through a Grandis play, having patience to clap back is extremely important. And now we'll go ahead and just do another quick game here, just to kind of show you that the deck doesn't always, you don't always need to have, the insane speed that you might be familiar with other decks like this. So like most X Antibody decks are very OTK oriented. Whereas this one is more, resource grindy, and if you can clap back or come back on the defensive, you can still steal away games. So let's think about some Melga, which is another deck that's going to be extremely popular here. So you'll do your recovery. Most Melga players are probably going to want to go second, but let's assume they go first, because we saw what happens when you go second last game. So you draw your 5. Alright, so this is a semi-bricky hand because you don't have any options, and you don't have a whole lot of protection here. So let's say they hatch and raising, they Digivolve, they draw, then they pass you 3 to play a search rookie. Okay, so you draw, you hatch and raising, you're going to Digivolve your guy here, draw for Digivolution. And then you're just going to go up your chain as far as you can. So go here for 2, draw for Digivolution, Digivolve here, draw for Digivolution, you drew that for free. So here you have a interesting scenario where you have to decide whether to pass your opponent 3 just to pass them 3, or to go into your Metal Greymon for 3. Um, Personally, if I was in this situation and we were just it was their turn 1, so they had the potential to swing at me next game or next turn, but I had this guy in the back, I would probably just pass 3, because you know that you're going to be able to digivolve this guy for 2. So odds, unless they, and so if they go, so yeah, you would just pass them for 3 with this stack. If you didn't go here, they're probably going to assume you're looking for a level 5. Uh, because there's no real reason other than that in their mind that they would think to, because it's 3 no matter what. But by doing it this way, you lull your opponent and they might commit more because they think you're missing a level 5 and you're digging for it. So maybe they think your hand's a little bricked. So they promote out of raising early. They probably swing the Gabumon, check, you get X antibody, they lose a memory. They digivolve Gabumon into Gabumon X. They draw an additional card. They search. They put, let's say, they pull their Garuru pieces. Digivolve into the Garurumon for 1. Let's say it's the one that digivolves for 2 but gains 1 memory. Then they go into Garurumon X for 0, and then they attach X antibody and they swing. Yeah. So with them being at 3 memory, they're gaining the memory here. There isn't really a way for them to cleanly pass turn, so they're either going to have to go into X antibody into the Wergarurumon to pass you 2, and yeah, let's sure they check 2. If they do, you get a Yuya. If they don't, so let's say these cards are back in security, and they just have a Garurumon here, or Garurumon X or whatever, or even if they stayed in raising and digivolve for 2. So gain the memory off the Agu check, or the Gabu check, then digivolve for 2 in the back, digivolve into Garurumon X, and then pass you 3 to do another rookie search. Cool. Draw for turn. All right. So at this point, you do have to be a little worried because they would have 2 rookies on board. One would be suspended because it survived your check and gave you the X antibody, and then the other one. But then they also have a Garurumon X in raising, let's say. Cool. So either way, you would still promote here. You would attach the X antibody. You would digivolve into this guy for 2. Put yourself at 1. Draw for Digivolution. Its effect kicks in. So you delete one of their rookies. So that's gone. Now, you just digivolve for 1 into this guy. Draw a card for Digivolution. Pop the other rookie. Now you can't be de-digivolved or have your DP reduced or any of that nonsense. So then, and you have a blocker that's live. So now you have the option to swing and potentially draw a card, but potentially die in security since you are only going to be a 10k. So there is the chance that you hit one of their megas in security. So what I would recommend is just give them play this, because now you force them to have all of their stuff. And if they don't have a cool boy or anything, basically you're pretty much set up for success here, and you're guaranteed 3 memory on the next turn. So even if they promote up with the Greymon or with the Garurumon X, if they digivolve for 3, taking themselves down to 1 to go into Garuru, swing, activate the X antibody, so they'll check swing. Check 1, cool, Greymon, it's trashed. We're sad. They digivolve into, but then they have 2 more, they'll check, 4 if they survive, if they go into the Wergarurumon X. So cool, there's 1, cool, there's 2, there's 3. But now, they would need a restand and a digivolve for 0. Your opponent, again, from your early game, they're still sitting at 5 security, but you've cleared all but that board. And since you're an 8k, they have to be afraid of you swinging or blocking at any given point. Not so much with the first swing. So they would have had to have gone into the Melga X immediately to prevent you from just blocking and just outright killing it. because that would have trashed their one protection stack. Now you can draw, you hatch. Your opponent has a suspended Wergurumon X, or let's say they passed you. You go to 3 no matter what. So they passed you 3 to go into the blocker Melga, right? Melga X. So it has blocker. You're big scared. So at this point, you would just Digivolve, pass your opponent 2. Because you don't really have a so this rookie, you don't really care to play it at this point, because you already have this and your opponent pushed out of raising. So you would just Digivolve into this guy, draw for Digivolution, and then since you have you would de-Digivolve the blocker, and then just swing over the Melga, and then they would have to trash their protection sources. You would draw off of your Koromon, and then you would reboot, and your Metal Greymon X Antibody would trigger trashing this source. So now your opponent starts at 2 memory. They have the Melga combo, but if they swing, they don't have any protection, so you just block. And when you block, that dies. So now they have to just sit here with this guy, or Digivolve for 4 into the Melga X, and if they have the X Antibody, cool, you just trash your X Antibody out of here, and it survives. Because they still can't swing at you because you have a 13k. So now you draw. You start at 3. Now you just play the choke game. So you just swing. You'd either swing over their body, force them to block, or check 2 cards. Draw off of your Koromon. And then you just go, alright, cool, Digivolve here. And then you just play this guy to lock him at 1. And also your Metal Greymon would allow you to swing over the blocker anyway. So you could just swing over the blocker, and it's just gone. So they don't and then they start with 1 memory. You do your thing, you reveal 1, 2, 3. Those all go to the bottom. Now your opponent's at 1, and you have a guy who reboots. And they trash another security. So they're at 3 security, absolute max at this point in the game. And they would have nothing here. So really, you've secured victory at this point. Because they have 3 security max, you're swinging for sec plus 1 here. They would have to answer multiple things on board. And since you went into the so now your opponent would have to trash the X Antibody, or have to delete you. If they bounce you now, if they Kaidos Breath you, they bounce this back to hand, yes, this stack does go away. So that could be sad, because if you return this at any point, we haven't drawn another one. So let's say they did. So you're here. You draw. You start at 6 because they Kaidos Breath you to try and protect themselves because they're at 3. You go, okay, cool. Digivolve for 2. Draw. Digivolve for free. Draw. Suspend Yuya. Gain 2000 DP, and this card is now immune to options. Your blocker is now live again. Digivolve for 2. Digivolve for free. And then you would draw for each one of these. Digivolve for 1. Draw again. Now you're sitting at a Digimon with 10k, no additional security checks, but it is immune to options. So now, you just swing. This dies in security, let's say. They're down to 2 security. And then this is now and then you can suspend, if you wanted to, you could suspend the other Yuya if you did plan on attacking to put yourself at 12k, and then 14k when you attack. So theoretically, you could just do this, swing for one of their last securities, and then pass turn by going into Blackwargreymon X. Now you have a reboot blocker. Their last security card is trashed, and this is now a 17k on their turn. and there's nothing they can do about it. So obviously there's different ways where this could shake out where it's not good for you. Like they could have a bunch of answers, but definitely like just playing your searchers out of raising. Yeah, playing your searchers out of raising, and then basically just patience. The name of this deck is patience. You have blockers, you have security bombs. We didn't see any of that game, but you do have security bombs. You have big bodies. So a lot of decks really have to be careful when they swing into you. Um, so and then so it's really something that you don't want to go full throttle. You don't want to promote. A question I get asked a lot is like, when do you promote from raising? If you don't have the perfect ideal stack. So let's say you've got this Agumon. You had to digivolve into this Greymon. You and you don't have, you've got like this Metal Greymon but no Tamer or whatever. You got this guy in hand. When would you promote and decide, oh well, I need to commit to the board because otherwise I'm going to lose? Like let's say you have this and this is in hand. So since this is a 6K and it'll have 8K thanks to your DP boost, you may want to if like you have this card in hand and your opponent is like threatening you or they've got some stuff on board, and let's say the rest of your hand is like level 7s or something, level 6s. So I would go ahead. So if your opponent is presenting bodies on board and they swing and it doesn't die, it's perfectly okay to promote early. You don't always have to build your ideal stack. While I say the name of the game is patience, another point of this game is board control. So if your opponent swings and they survive the check, like say they hit a rookie, um, go ahead and promote. Because like if they play a second body and you're at 3, like say you start at 3 because they played a second body, and you just have this guy and you have this guy, cool, just promote. Swing over the guy they just swung with because he's gonna have 8K. And now you've trashed a body, and then you can just digivolve into this guy, pass them 1, or even if you were at 1, say they passed you at 1 and they had 1 body. Cool. You don't mind to pass them to 3, digivolve into this guy, clear 2 bodies off their board. Because now you have an 8K that they have to answer, and they're sitting at 3 memory, so they're going to have to come out of raising or play an option to handle this stack. So the only things that I would recommend is like, let's say you've got this guy, but you have like a really, really awkward hand. Like you've got like a Blackwargreymon X, a Metal Greymon, a Greymon X antibody, and like this guy, right? So like this, let's say this was your opening hand, and you didn't even see this guy, right? Like he's not here. Your opening hand was this guy. This was your opening hand. So most people would say, oh man, this is a really, really awkward, really awkward start because you don't really have a whole lot of room to go, and this is a very memory inefficient run because you can't digivolve here. And let's say you're going first, so your only option is either to pass your opponent 3 or pass them 4. Just play the 4 because now you're gonna reveal 1, 2, and 3. So no matter what, so you've cleared one of these rookies, which sucks, but you weren't gonna play this guy anyway. You set yourself up here, and then you've lost. So you've lost some value. So this is a rough start. We'll call this a brick. So now your opponent hatches and raising. They play their tamer for 4. It's a Davis. They search a bunch of stuff, or they play. Let's say they play Cool Boy. They play Cool Boy for 2. They do a bunch of searches. They X anybody. Then they put you at 1 to play a Gabu X. Cool. We draw. This is obviously this is not an ideal scenario. So at this point, what you want to do is protect yourself. So you would just play Yuya, give them their 3. All right, now they have to make a decision. If they promote to the one that digivolves for 1, and then they Gabu X you, Yeah, they Garuru X you and then they tap the Cool Boy, gain a memory, and then they go where Garurumon X. You're in for a hurting. But if you can weather that storm, and let's say you go to 3, like this guy is bounced back to your hand or whatever, which is not ideal, but you draw. So again, continuing this bad streak of just bad plays. So you're probably going to lose if you open with this guy, but even if you open with a rookie, you're doing pretty bad off. But if your opponent didn't open with the Melga, they didn't open with the nuts, and they had to awkwardly like put you at 2, or they couldn't bounce this guy, right? They had to put you at 3, they couldn't bounce this guy, and they've got like a champion and another rookie, and they checked a card. Cool, you draw another this guy. All right, cool. Go to 0, just Digivolve into this guy for 3. It sucks, yes, but you get to draw. It's additional draw power. Now you can attach the X antibody. Swing over one of your opponent's bodies. Pass them to go into this guy. Suspend this guy, so he is now 10k on your opponent's turn. They're at 2. Now you have a threat. Now they have to choose whether to swing over it. They can't bounce it or anything because you have this guy. So like, if your opponent has the nuts and you brick, just like with any deck, you run the risk of losing. Like it's just something that can happen, and the deck is extremely susceptible to memory inefficient plays. You can mitigate some of those memory inefficient plays by running, additional searchers, memory boosts, things like that. But the more you trade for memory efficiency, the more you add memory efficiency, the less you're giving up chances for combo and extension pieces. So yeah, definitely if you're playing a game and you have stuff in your hand, don't just blow your hand into raising just because you feel like you have to. Like like I said in where I was talking about like the Metal Greymon in hand, you have the option to either Digivolve it to pass them 3 or just pass them 3 outright. Just pass them 3 outright, because it's going to get your opponent to commit more to the board, allowing you to get value out of that effect, whereas if you pop it in raising, you're not going to get any value. It's just a level 5 at that point. And then it also tells your opponent that you're going higher, so they're going to play more reserve and try to counteract you. So playing patient and playing board control is very, very important. So definitely, like, again, early game, if you have like an awkward hand but it's playable, just promote, swing over bodies, because you're going to get draws off your Koromons. You're going to get... you're going to get stuff off of Digivolving, and you're clearing board, allowing the game to extend further. So, yeah, patience, think through your plays, and try not to allow a deck that is going to put pressure on you to force you to play their tempo. Always try to play your own tempo and force your opponent to play that same tempo. So, you're not a super slow deck, but you are a kind of a freight train, where like you're not insanely slow, but once you get going, you just steamroll everything, because they just get in the way and get ran over. But work on building your resources, play your rookies. Don't be afraid to play out your rookies that search. So like your black Agumons that search for 3 and 4, don't be afraid to play those. Like if you have to, Digivolve and Raising to get additional draw is always good. But if you have something that you can play, just play your rookie, because then you're going to gain more resources that way, and gain more of your top end. I am Tofu Bandit. This has been the gameplay section of our deck build theory series, and we will see you next time, ladies and gentlemen.